Hey everybody, welcome back to Moworks. I got a very interesting video for you guys today. I'm very excited to do this because it means I got to do a lot of shooting with a lot of fun guns. Today I'm going to be demonstrating why I think 22 long rifle is viable for self-defense and home defense. Now I want to put one caveat to this. Despite whatever conceptions you may have about me or this channel, I'm not a firearms expert, and I just want to make that clear. Basically, I've always had an interest for firearms, but I never had anyone in my friend group or my family group that really knew anything about firearms or had an interest in teaching me. So in 2020, of all years, I literally got online and just looked up every caliber because I just needed to start somewhere, because I knew I wanted to get into guns, I wanted to get into hunting, I wanted to get into this lifestyle, and I just knew absolutely nothing about it. So since 2020, I've done hundreds upon hundreds of hours of research about guns, firearms, calibers, how they work, pistols, rifles, shotguns, NFA items, like 37, 40 millimeter, all that stuff. Just hundreds of hours of research, to watch hundreds of hours of videos, as well as online posts, as well as ballistic data. So I know a lot, but because of my limited funds, I don't get to do a lot. But especially this year, I've been doing a whole lot more, and since I started this channel, obviously every week I'm out here doing something. So I'm not an expert, but I've learned a lot in theory, and I'm learning a lot in practice. And from what I've learned in theory and what I learned in practice, I do think 22 long rifle is very viable, and I'm going to just show you some demonstration here today. There's going to be a little bit more talking in this video, I suspect, than in most videos. So if that's not something that interests you, check out one of my other videos. This one, though, we're going to be going over 22 long rifle, a bunch of different guns that shoot 22 long rifle, and how you would use it in different defense scenarios. All right, let's get to it. So what I think, and probably what most of you think when I say 22 long rifle for self-defense, is some sort of concealed carry semi-auto pistol. Here we have the kel-tec P17 again. I know I feature this in a lot of videos. It's because a lot of people like to watch videos about the kel-tec. But yeah, this is obviously a 22 semi-auto, 22 long rifle. It is about a 4-inch barrel. It has a fixed barrel, so only the slide moves. The barrel does not move. I believe that's supposed to help in accuracy. This guy is pretty light, really light, easy to rack slide, ambidextrous safety. A good concealed carry option overall. It's very thin. I'll not point the gun at the camera quite yet to jump scare you guys, but it's pretty darn thin. And it's light. Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's called the P17 because it holds 16 rounds in the magazine, and then it holds 1 round in the chamber, overall 17. That's why most people think it's called P17. I'm hoping the P doesn't stand for pistol, because that's silly. I don't think it stands for polymer, because this is glass-filled nylon, not polymer. Anyway, so yeah, this is probably what most people think when they think of, self-defense 22. So I'm going to put 5 rounds of this downrange on the top target, our shoot and see target on our stand over there, and we'll just see how it performs, and we'll just get a good feel for how this gun operates. For anyone that's interested, for most of our semi-autos, excluding the Winchester Wildcat today, we're going to be shooting the 22 Super Extra 40 grain Aguila, copper plated, and for the other firearms that aren't semi-auto, we're going to be shooting Federal Champion solid 40 grain lead round nose. One last thing, for these scenarios, I'm going to be role-playing as if someone has broken into my house. The reason I'm going to do that is because in training, I've been trying to get more in the mindset of what I would actually do, other than just shooting. So I'm going to be saying things like, stop, I don't feel safe, get out of my house, and then I'm going to fire, just to practice those skills, preparing myself for a real situation, possibly avoiding conflict, and being able to support myself in court saying, hey, I did everything I could before I fired. Let's get into it. Hey, you're not supposed to be in here. Get out. No, don't come towards me. Out. Okay, I'll bring you guys a little closer here in a minute so you can kind of see where that group landed. We're at 7 yards, which I would say is a pretty good, inside the house distance as far as shooting. I can even tell with this ear pro on, that's very loud, and that would be much louder inside the house. So let me get you a little closer so you can see what I'm looking at. So as you can see here, we're at 7 yards, and that does not look like a bad group to me. We have one flyer down here, but all in a straight line, all around where it needs to be. And 5 shots of 22, that really didn't take too long, if our target doesn't blow away. That really didn't take too long to fire. So I would say, 5 shots, 40 grain in just a few seconds, all on target. That's very viable. Now, obviously, for home defense, who knows, the guy might have body armor, he might have a gun, he might not care about getting shot. Obviously, these scenarios in which you're going to be using a 22 long rifle is, maybe you're elderly, maybe you have damage to your wrists or shoulders where you can't lift a heavy gun, you can't rack a heavy slide, or, it's all that you have. Maybe you inherited grandpa's 22, you want to get something better for self-defense. Either you can't afford it, you're afraid of the process of buying a firearm, which is, a legitimate fear. One of my friends who is not that deep into the firearm world got, I don't want to say, she got scammed. She got scammed really bad. They lied to her. They sold her a gun that is illegal in this state and then called her a liar for trying to return it. It was really bad. So if you don't know a whole lot about the firearms world and the gun dealing and wheeling and all that, sometimes they will take advantage of you if they're bad people. Bad people are everywhere. And it's just rough, so that's a legitimate fear. So if all you have is maybe something you inherited, you don't want to go through the process of getting something else. If it's all you have, then it's always viable for self-defense. A gun is always going to be better than just about anything else. Being shot at is a lot different than being approached with a baseball bat. It's a very different psychological effect, even on bad guys. So obviously there's those prerequisites. But from those shots right there, if I'm aiming at center mass on somebody and I get, shot, same pattern on there, I'm going to have damage to the sternum, I'm going to have bullets in my stomach or in my spine. Like, those are all lined up. So if any of those did pass through, especially if I was using, say, a copper-plated solid point like that, round nose, then those could have very easily hit the spine and taken out the attacker entirely. A lot of people say, shoot for the head with the 22. Do that if you're comfortable with it, if you have the training for it. Otherwise, center mass is always a good option as well. So yeah, kel-tec P17, really great option for concealed carry, really great option for self-defense under the circumstances that we just covered. But what if you live in a state where you can't have a kel-tec P17? I know a state where you can't have a magazine that's over 10 rounds, so that's already out. But let's say you modified the magazine in a different state so it could only hold 10 rounds. Well, you can't bring it into that state I'm thinking of either, because it has a threaded barrel, and anything with a threaded barrel is like an assault rifle or something ridiculous like that. So you can't have threaded barrels, magazine capacity over 10. Well, there's something else too. There's something else funny, like a Picatinny rail on a pistol, something crazy like that, where you can't have a state. So P17 is completely out of people's options in some states. But this next gun almost certainly won't be. So here we have the Heritage Rough Rider. And I know most of you guys are probably familiar with this firearm, but it is a single action revolver chambered in 22 long rifle. It can also have a cylinder for 22 Magnum, but this cylinder right here, you can see it says 22 long rifle. Hopefully that focuses in. Means it can also shoot 22 short and 22 long. You're probably not going to be finding too much 22 long on the shelves nowadays, but 22 short, 22 long rifle shoots fine out of this, but you do have to have a separate cylinder to shoot 22 Magnum. 22 Magnum may actually be a more viable option than 22 long rifle because the recoil is kind of negligible. It's single action. It's not like you're going to be getting fast follow-up shots anyway. But today we have the long rifle cylinder. Now, the reason why I say this is probably legal in just about every state is because this is just about the least intimidating thing to a politician that there is. You know, it shoots a rimfire, single action, and it's a revolver. You know, if you go to court and, you know, let's say you did everything right? You said, you know, get out of my house, please don't hurt me, I don't want you here. They run towards you with a knife, you shoot them, they die, and then you present this to the court. You know, the jury, you know, the judge is probably going to be a lot more partial to you if this is what's on the table versus, say, like, you know, some 10 millimeter 1911 or some Glock, you know, because this looks very unintimidating. I mean, it looks cool, and it looks like a nice gun to me at least, but it's not very intimidating to most people. That being said, you know, it's intimidating when somebody points it at you, right? So this is, you know, it is a firearm. People know what a revolver is. People know that it goes bang when you pull the trigger. So it is viable in that respect for self-defense. Maybe not as scary as some pump action, but on its own. So I'm going to load up. I'll just load up 6 because it's a revolver. Most of the guns will do 5. I'll load up 6 for this guy. And we're going to shoot them at the bottom target using the iron sights, aiming for the center of the target. Always remember, if for whatever reason you do choose to use the Heritage Rough Rider as your self-defense weapon, you're going to want to take off that manual safety. Okay, let's get into the role play. Hey, I don't want you in my house. You need to get out. No, you need to leave. Do not walk towards me. Step away now. Stop. Alright, all empty. As we can see there, it was a lot slower getting that gun up. It was a lot slower cocking it, firing it. I've been out of practice with that gun for a while. It's been a little while since I've seriously practiced with that because, you know, now I have my real concealed carry. So I'm not really spending as much time practicing with that revolver, which was the only thing I had for a long time. Alright, let's go look at our group. So that was our P17. And this is our group with the Heritage Rough Rider. As you can see, it has 1 extra shot, but it was much more off target. Usually, when I'm sighting this in really well, it shoots a little low and left. I believe this time it was shooting higher and left because I was shooting it more rapidly and I was not using what I would call proper technique, because that's the first time I've shot that revolver in a while. However, as you can see, it's still all relatively on target at 7 yards. I would say about generally 2 inches left and 1 inch high, which is, you know, all on center mass, and that would definitely ruin somebody's day. I wanted to share an interesting story real quick, specifically about this firearm. When I was looking into it back in the day, I saw this review, and it was this lady, said she was a single mother who had been evicted from her home, I believe, or otherwise was not living in a home with a few of her children. And she said this was the only thing she could get her hands on, and that she used it to ward off, you know, bad guys, potential predators, you know, human predators from attacking her and her children as they were living on the street. The lady was leaving a review online, but she did not purchase the gun online. She somehow acquired the gun either through the black market or through a legitimate purchase, but I don't think she got it legitimately, which, you know, it is what it is, but, you know, at the end of the day, she was able to use that pistol, you know, to ward off potential bad guys and protect herself and her children while on the streets. And that always stuck with me, probably because I was very young at the time I read that. I think it was before, like, well before I bought that firearm. It has kind of impacted me. You know, there's people out there, you know, with kids, you know, living in kind of desperation, but that with a firearm, they were able to protect themselves, even, you know, probably one of the worst options, which is that single action 22 long rifle revolver. but it becomes a much better option than, like whatever club, knife, or whatever object you can find around in the trash to use to protect yourself, which is common. A firearm will always be better, especially if you know how to use it, and especially if it's loaded. Okay, on to the next one.